baby beard.
Waited for you, Fry.
This episode traumatized me as a young person.
My head is hurting again.
Where's my firstborn son?
God does not care about me masturbating.
Your singing is bad and you should feel bad.
First get out into bustle, you're like, oh no!
Yeah. I don't like myself becoming the protagonist of this podcast.
You've been in
Yeah, because you haven't learned anything.
Shut up and take my podcast.
Yay! Oh my gosh. Welcome everybody to Shut Up and Take My Podcast, the Futurama podcast where we pit episode against episode in a bloody glorious gauntlet battle for your entertainment. And today we are on a side mission where we deviate from our regular schedule to bring you something a little special because you're worth it. And so today I am, you obviously know me, listeners, maybe, I don't know. So I'm Ellen, regular annoying person on the podcast, and I am joined here by Aimee Steinberger and Crystal Chesney-Thompson from Futurama. So hi guys.
Hello. Hi.
So great to have you because I think it was All the President's Heads that Josh suggested that you guys would be open to coming on the episode, especially because I was asking him about all the awesome costume design. And he pointed out that was mainly you, Aimee?
Yeah, I really like doing historical costuming and cosplay stuff for fun. So when Steven and I got that episode, he was like, yeah, so if you want to do some drawings of some stuff, that'd be cool. And I did, and so they made it cooler. Like the character people, the character design people made it cooler, but yeah. I did some sketches for it, and that was really fun. So
amazing. And so you guys both worked in Futurama. Crystal, you worked in the animation department, but then you became a director. How was that? What was that process like?
I started in the character layout because Aimee and I are both animators to begin with, so we wanted to make the characters act and do all that fun stuff. But then as the layout department started to disappear, then I made the shift into storyboarding, and from there, because we were so, I don't know, I don't want to sound braggy, but we were really good. We were good at the character layout side. So then I got into revisions. And when you're doing revision directing, it's sort of a step away from directing. So, we would get the animation back in color and there'd be all these things that are weird and wrong. And, you're like, what the fuck happened? Why does it look like that? Please fix it. So then I would, I'd take the X sheets, which are the exposure sheets that tell the animators in the other country how to make it look right, and fix it so that they can make it look right again. And yeah, from there, when we got another season of Futurama, they asked me if I wanted to direct on it, and I was like, yes, I am very familiar with the show and would love to direct it. So
I think part of the thing too is because we were trained as character animators originally, like we wanted to go work at Disney and be Disney animators.
Yeah.
Because of that background, it was easy for us to do like animation timing and lots of different parts of the animation process. So it's kind of natural for Crystal to transition into directing, like if she wanted to. So, because she knows how to do all the things.
I know and love all the things.
Yeah, as previously stated, you guys are both amazing. So,
thank you.
And one extra special thing that is that comes from talking to both of you is that you guys are both IRL friends. I love friendship and animation, and you're both animators and friends. Amazing.
Yep. We ended up being roommates in college, and they just randomly put us, well, not randomly, we filled out a questionnaire.
I'm sure the questionnaire had something to do with it, but I don't know what that was.
Probably messy.
Is one of you messy and one of you clean?
I will never forget walking into that dorm room, and we'd never met, and Amy's mom pops out from behind a refrigerator that they're installing. Hi, y'all! You're my new daughter! I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
And then we all like, I love her parents. I love her family. They're all great.
I'm from the South originally, so I used to have like a relatively heavy accent, and my mom has like a really heavy Southern accent. Yeah, so, well, not really heavy, but
super
medium
sweet.
Heavy,
mediumly heavy.
Yeah,
okay.
Y'all still in there. It's enough to make a Portland, Oregon girl go, oh my god, they're really friendly.
Yeah.
They're not weird like Portland people. I don't know what to think.
That is
yeah,
amazing.
we ended up being roommates after that, after we graduated from college, and then animation's kind of a small industry, and we end up working together somewhat frequently. So
Yep.
Great. In college, were you both studying like visual arts and animation?
Yeah, we were both we were at Cal Arts, and we were both in the same animation program. And at the time when we were there, how many girls were in our class? Our class was like 40 students, and there's probably
like 5 girls.
5 or 6. It was not very many girls. And it's nice though, because my husband now, he was teaching at Cal Arts, and I would go back with him once in a while to visit. And when he was teaching in what was that, 2005? The amount of women in the department had gotten so much larger. It was great. It was like at least half.
Yeah, it's a lot better now.
So it was really cool to see the balance grow and change. Like,
Do you think that added into kind of strengthening your friendship? This kind of like idea of like, we gotta band together, otherwise it's just a dick fest in here.
I don't think it really crossed my mind. Like, I don't know. As I became older, I started to realize the disparity more. But like, Crystal and I honestly just like the same stuff. Like, if there's 15 things, there's a pretty high chance that Crystal and I will both pick the same thing.
Yep.
We'll both be like, that is the best lightsaber. We're both going to get that one.
We're all going to pick the exact same pieces for our lightsaber and build identical lightsabers.
Oh my god.
We've both, somehow in the industry, we've never really felt that, like, anti-girl thing. Like, I've never felt when I worked with men that they thought anything different about me being a woman working with them.
Maybe like once or twice.
Maybe once or twice. But that's a specific person. I didn't get a general vibe of, why are you here, you're a girl?
Yeah.
You know?
Part of that is like working at Rough Draft that's like run by a woman.
That could be a big part of it. Was I've spent a lot of my career at Rough Draft. Whenever things would slow down there, I'd sort of bounce out to like work at Warner Brothers for a little bit, or work at Disney for a little bit. I always come back to Rough Draft, and I really like working with Claudia. She's a very powerful woman. Claudia Katz is the producer there, and she's amazing.
Yeah, I guess it's great when kind of you have more women in charge, because then you're like, oh, cool. Well, now I just feel like that's only going to encourage more women to kind of come in.
It makes it a non-issue. It's great.
Yeah.
She's not going to be like, oh, you can't direct, you're a woman.
Yeah.
That would be a really weird excuse.
It'd be super weird.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, so are you?
It's just the Spider-Man meme. You're just both pointing at each other. Wait a minute.
Oh, no.
I think I saw, because I was kind of low-key stalking you guys, and I ended up on your YouTube channel, Aimee. And I think I saw a little...
There's like 2 things on there.
I know, you made it so easy for me. Thank you. And I think I saw like a little short animation that you did, because I was just kind of trying to, see what stuff I could find about you guys, essentially. And I saw this little, animated thing that you said you obviously did in college, and it said, and my friend Crystal Chesney did the water animation. And my face was just like a perfect O, because I was like,
oh, not water. She did the centaur character.
Depends on which thing they're looking at.
Well, there was
the My
second
Magic
one. We did 2 films together.
Yeah.
This one was My Own Magic.
Oh yeah, that was my senior film, and she did the water animation for me, because like Crystal's really good at like technical stuff, and like things like water animation is kind of easy for her.
Well, and when
like,
Aimee said
to the average person, I guess
we would pitch our stories back and forth when we were coming up with our student films, and when she came up with this idea to have a character, manipulating water, I was like, oh, and then the water could do this, and the water could do that. She's like, I'm like,
if
can
you
I
say
do the
so.
water? Please. She's like, yes.
I'm
but
like,
go.
please do that. Please, that's great. Thanks.
You do that. I'll make the character be cute, and you do the water, Chris.
We did another film together. I guess it was our junior year.
I think
wasn't
so.
it? And that one had a mermaid and a centaur, and I did the mermaid. She did a centaur, and
Oh
she
my
did the water in
gosh.
that one, and I did the backgrounds, and it was fun.
This is all
very
sounding-
dorky and magical, and
This is-
I'm
I
very
was
proud of it.
just about to say, this all sounds very magical.
Yeah. Well, you can't see the room that we're in, but it's like it's my den of crap, and like
There's a lot of magic in here.
there's a lot of magical girl magic wands and like cats and like
Oh,
wigs and weird toys and cats.
unicorns.
I was so hoping that you would bring that up. Because well, I've been kind of like looking through your stuff. It's kind of a lot harder to find stuff about you, Crystal. You've made it very easy, very hard to stalk you. I'm afraid. But I've certainly on your blog, Aimee, I've seen a lot of Steven Universe, Sailor Moon. There's like a whole big magical girl vibe going on there.
I just really love that. Well, I like anime in general, but I just any genre, any that has like cool fantasy or like strong female characters or just has lots of pink in it. I'm down with that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Who doesn't love pink, right?
I think part of it is because like when I was in high school, I started having a website, and thank God the Wayback Machine doesn't have it anymore. But I started putting stuff on the internet then and like chatting with people on IRC. So then when I went into college, I just continued to have a web presence. And so I've been like, I just post stuff online because
That's just what you do.
I do
Yeah.
that thing.
Yeah. I did find an Instagram account, and look, it does say Crystal Chesney-Thompson. I'm fairly sure it's not you, but I thought I'd better ask anyway, where it's like porcelain dolls. Is this right?
Oh no, that's my stuff.
Really? Oh my
That's
god.
me.
Really?
We both like dolls.
I have many side hobbies that are not involved with directing or animating, and I like painting tiny doll faces on 1/6 scale dolls, and
Because they
it
are.
makes me very happy to. Well, it's not too far from animation because I like to set up these little dolls in vignettes and make it look like they're actually cooking pancakes or whatever, and take pictures of them and bring them to life in a way. So it's like
is
super
adorable.
dorky, but that's one of my hobbies.
Okay, but she makes it sound like kind of lame, and it's like actually really awesome.
Oh, no, in
Like,
no way is that lame. I mean, if anything,
I like to play with dolls.
yeah. If-
So, like, just to give you an example, she drew a design for an Art Nouveau window for her dollhouse, and then they 3D printed it and put it into a dollhouse wall that they made, and then it's like this perfect tea house with like all these little detailed like moss and stuff. It's like people who do those really cool D&D models.
It's
except
got
it's
like
for dolls.
it's got like a little inlaid parquet floor and like all these. Yeah,
oh my
I'm all
God.
into the details.
It's really fun.
That is amazing. But it's, I guess it kind of belies your like animating talent. There are all of these kind of creative talents. They all kind of feed into each other, I find. So it's like if you're very detail orientated, like that's the kind of stuff that you're really drawn to. And you guys are both makers. Like you make a lot of stuff. Like Crystal with the dolls, and also you made. I found HAMINAL.
Yeah,
Yes, please.
Yeah,
So, so I'm just gonna go on a tangent here. Can you tell me a little bit about, look, who is HAMINAL? Why? Where can I get one? I'm
What?
not joking. I really, really want one, especially the deviled version. I know that was probably like a special edition, but a girl can dream.
Comic-Con exclusive, which whatever I had left after Comic-Con, I just kept selling them on my website. But basically, I used to go to a camp every year, and they would always have that canned ham stuff at the camp, and we'd all eat it.
Wait.
Right?
Wasn't it a ninja camp?
It was I would go to an annual ninja camp where
Ninja
we
camp?
would like run around in the forest and in
What?
the dark and do really fun ninja things.
That sounds
And-
amazing, but it also sounds like, I don't know, it could be a trap to just like lure people out into the woods and take them out one
They're
by
like,
one.
"Come to the woods, there's ninjas."
Yeah,
and-
or
and-
it's like Highlander
Yeah.
style, where it's like to really prove that you're a ninja, you have to survive the camp.
basically there was Saturday night training where there's no flashlights, no nothing. It's just pitch dark, and they would always have some kind of challenge, like you must get into this building and dodge the swordsman inside and get the scroll and get out. And
Do you get like ranks? Do you get like, Silver Star, Ninja?
Yeah, it sounds really goofy, but it is part of an actual martial arts school, and they do this weekend getaway thing where it's, really fun, and you get to explore the more traditional side of how this stuff would actually work out in the woods at night. But most of the time it's a normal school with belts and ranks and all that. And I've always been too timid to go for my black belt, so I've just sort of been writing it out. And I got to a point, I was a green belt for a really long time, and one of the teachers was like, what ranking is she? And my husband was like, I don't know, she doesn't want to test. And he's like, just take the brown belt. Here you go. Oh. And I was like, but I didn't test for it. You got it here. Yeah. Now go for the black. I was like, I'm not going for the black belt. And then I had kids. And so then I haven't gone for my black belt because I use them as an excuse.
Oh. I thought you were going to say, I use them to do all my ninja stuff.
Yeah. Although I did take Kaylin to my daughter. I took her to one of the adventures in the woods, and I had her strapped to me as a baby, and I'm rolling around and dodging swords with a baby on the front of me.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh. I came into this my world rocked by my world was rocked by HAMINALS, and now I'm ninja camp.
At the ninja camp, we would always eat canned ham every year, and people would joke about it, and I would take it on a stick and make it run around and go, I want to be a real boy. And then we started joking about where it comes from, and I was like, it's got to be some square-shaped, genetically created square-shaped animal that they can just shoot right into the can, and the fur would come off, and it just and then I said, so gross. It's really nasty. And then I started drawing little HAMINALS shirts for everybody at the camp, and I started, people started saying to me, you should make this a thing. And I'm like, nah, okay, I'll make it a thing. So when I decided to make it a character and do a little storybook about it, I decided to shift it away from being quite so nasty and let's just make it into food. I just went a little cuter with it, and that way kids can like it and not be disgusted by the fact that you're supposed to eat him. He's just cute now.
Oh my gosh. And I do have my follow-up question was where do you get them? Do you still sell them? You gotta hook a girl up.
I have a really pathetic old website where you can still buy them, but I've been so busy with other things I have not.
How many do you have?
I have a few left. I have a few left, and when I randomly get orders from that website and go, oh wow, somebody found it.
How did you find me?
How did you find the website, and how did you believe that website would actually send you something if you put money into it? Because it looks very, very old.
Well, I'm gonna try that.
But it works. You can order HAMINALS through there.
I'm gonna try that, and I'm either gonna get a HAMINAL or get a terrible computer virus and all my money stolen. So this
from my old website.
This one's on you. I was going to say, following on from that, I don't really think I have any points or never stop going on tangents. But so kind of relating back to craft a little bit, obviously, Aimee, you cosplay, and even before we started recording, you were saying you were kind of going to pick a specific costume that you had 3D printed stuff from. Can you tell me a bit about how you make your own stuff, or just when did you start cosplaying and kind of how do you go about it?
I started cosplaying in college. I think what happened was the first time I went to, so I'm from South Carolina, and they don't have nerds there. There's 5. I'm gonna get hate mail now. There's lots of nerds.
I'm
a
nerd too, and I'm from South Carolina.
How dare you?
They're gonna ship nerds in from in-state.
Yeah. So when I came out to California to go to college, I experienced lots of new things, and one of that was Anime Expo. I'd never been to any sort of. That's not true, actually. Wait. I did go to a Gargoyles convention. That was my first convention.
As in the animated show?
I think I went to that with you.
You go to it with me?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Oh. Yeah, I went, and I was like, whoa.
This is super nerdy.
This is so weird, but it's kind of cool, and I kind of want to make a gargoyle costume now, even though I'm just barely into the show.
Well, Keith David came, and that was pretty cool.
That was pretty awesome.
Keith David talking to you is kind of like,
Goliath is talking to you in his real
So I went to Anime Expo. That was kind of my first big convention because the Gargoyles convention was like 100 people,
maybe 100 people,
100 people
in a little hotel,
in a tiny hotel in New York.
Yeah.
It was great fun, but it was like proto nerd babies. So went to Anime Expo and I was like, dude, people like dress up in costumes. All like they're, like 30% of the people here are dressed up in costumes. I'm like, I want to do this thing. I really like Slayers. I really like, Capcom games. I like all this stuff. So I didn't really know how to sew very well. So I was like, Crystal, can you help me?
I used to do Ren Fair like a lot. So I'd sew the Renaissance dresses and stuff. And I started showing Amy how to use patterns and sewing machines. And then she's like, cool, I got this. And like, poof, went off with it and started making these amazing historical ball gowns. And I'm like, I don't know how you do that. Like,
the student has become the master.
Not right away. I sucked for several years. And then eventually I improved.
You just skipped that part. You were awesome.
I met another total stranger on the internet because I guess that's what I do. I super nerd out about things, and then I extract like 3 really cool people from that fandom and I keep them forever. Like one of my friends' name is Judy, and I met her at a convention. I'm like, you're so cool, you're so good. And I'm like, so, you live in San Jose? Cool. Can I come over to your house and can you teach me things and let's make costumes together? And she's like, okay. So we're still friends. And we it's her and my friend AJ. And I literally text them every day. And I'm like, look at this stupid thing I did. And they're like, cool.
The sewing group of friends.
Yeah. But I mean, we're like I went to AJ's wedding and it's like we're actually friends, not just costume friends. But so yeah, between Crystal and Judy, I leveled up my plus 40 cosplay skill and then just kept doing it. I think it's just like it's very I think I feel similarly to Crystal does with her sort of like miniature making things, and that sometimes our job can be stressful and it feels very much like all the art that you're doing is it has to be perfect and everybody's going to judge it, and it feels like kind of high pressure and
it's not your vision.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily what I want to do.
Partly your vision, but a lot of it's such a conglomerate thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That when we do our own stuff, it's like you come up with this ball gown that you want to make, and you can come up with all the details and create and invent whatever you want. And the idea that you can have this vision and you can be in control of it and create something that's everything you want.
Yeah.
And nowadays you can create something that's everything you want. You can 3D print this and mold and cast that, and and whatever you don't know how to do, you just go on the internet. How do I do this thing?
Yeah,
cool.
Like when I started, there was no YouTube. I'm an old lady. So yeah, now you can seriously look it up on YouTube and everybody has tutorial videos on everything. But yeah, I find it kind of zen, I guess, like, because I'm just sort of like, I'm putting the fabric through the sewing machine. She puts the fabric through the sewing machine. And
she gets the hose again.
The thing just comes out and it's a thing and I like it and I get to wear it and it's fun. So
amazing.
Yeah.
As a fellow kind of fashion nerd or design nerd, I guess, I always do fashion corner on Shut Up and Take My Podcast, because there's some amazing, amazingly designed outfits. Like I love Leela's kind of like her evening gown that always shows a bit of leg and like just those little elements that make everything pop. Do you have
That's what you pick people.
Sorry.
Yep. She's that big slit up there so she can get her leg all the way up and
exactly.
Yeah.
It's really designed well for like her being able to still do axe kicks and like a modern gal can have both, damn it.
Well, actually, one of my favorite things doing the show, like, Leela wasn't my favorite character, but I like to draw her because I like to draw girls, and I also like to draw kicking. So, personality-wise, Bender is probably my favorite, but I really enjoyed drawing Leela kicking people.
Does have it's very satisfactory whenever she does that. Do you have kind of favorite, either elements that you've designed in animation or things that you've made that kind of like, basically like, what's your favorite costume?
Well, I guess one of the most recent ones I did is my new favorite. I really liked the 18th century gown that I made to go to Versailles this spring. Because ever since I was a little girl, I had these like books of like Cinderella fairy tale type stuff, and they had big Rococo gowns in them. And, you know, the fantasy is like, I'm going to go to the ball. And then as you're an adult, you're sort of like, oh, that's not really like a thing.
It's not.
But then like as a cosplayer, it's like, but it is a thing.
There is a ball. There are balls you can go
Yeah.
to. For real.
Yeah. So we actually went to basically a ball in Versailles, and I made it's not as perfect as it could have been, but it's pretty close to my dream gown.
It was amazing. She's being super picky. It was amazing. I saw the pictures.
I think probably for like 15 years or something like that, I wanted to make like a obnoxiously pink, like Marie Antoinette gown with like flowers and crap on it. And I finally did it, and I went to Versailles, and it was great. And I went with my friends AJ and Judy, and when we were there, it was just like, I'm going to cry because this thing is happening. And I just really like it.
Sometimes you just need to be in a big ball gown in Versailles, and like, then, you know, everything is aligned. So sometimes you just need to do it, all right? Live your dream, live your truth.
I think that's really important for people to live their dreams. And if there's any way financially that you can find ways to take fabulous adventures before your body falls apart, I think people should do those things.
Absolutely. Like we found a ball close to home. There's that Regency. Yeah. There's a Regency Jane Austen ball.
Yeah, but we're not going to tell you anymore about it, because then people will buy the tickets and then we can't.
Doesn't exist. There is no such ball.
No, Chris, edit that out. We don't need edit.
It sucks. It's the worst.
Terrible.
I never go.
No.
Yeah, 0 stars, no balls. Do you guys kind of go on trips together? Do you guys? I don't know. I'm steering this towards a astrology thing,
so.
But do you guys like traveling?
Like
or?
busy
hard with families.
Busy and families, and like my husband is also in animation, so like when he is not busy, I am usually crazy busy, and vice versa. So the time where he and I can go on a vacation is like almost never. And then to try to get that to also coincide on when Aimee and her family could go on vacation is like, oh my, this is never gonna happen.
Yeah,
we have to make it happen, because it would be.
Let's just make the men take care of the children, and we can go somewhere.
We'll just go.
Yeah,
be like, bye, dude.
I have a list. I have a list of places, so you know.
I'm like, this is happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think that I need to save some more money first, but then I want to do it. Let's go to the Loire Valley.
Okay.
Yeah.
It has castles.
Where would you want to go, like, first? Like, what's your kind of dream location in terms of traveling?
Oh my God, I have so many.
Well, okay. Aimee already went to France,
yeah,
but I would really like to go there. You could.
I want to go to France again. I haven't seen the Loire Valley. I'm probably saying it wrong.
Take me back with you when you go back to France, and then we will get lots of pictures and ideas for
food,
for projects and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, we won't go into it very much, but we have a project we're working on, and going to France would be helpful.
It would be super helpful.
Plus, it's great. It would be fun.
Yeah. And the food is amazing. Like, you have to go there just, you know, for bragging rights alone, to be like, yes, I had a croissant in a boulangerie in France. Jealous much?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the croissants were pretty good there, but like, we're pretty lucky because we have this bakery nearby called Porto's, and their croissants are pretty darn good, and there's a Cuban bakery. So there's definitely advantages to living in LA, like lots of good food.
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever actually leave LA for good, just because of all the things that are available. The food, the curry, the fact that you can drive like an hour or two in any direction and be at the beach or the mountains or the forest or the
fabric district.
There's nowhere else like that.
Is there really a fabric district?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
What am I doing in this cesspool of the earth that is Australia? Oh, fuck this noise.
Poor you.
Actually, I mean, maybe somebody will argue with me and send me hate mail, but I think the LA fabric district is probably one of the best fabric districts in the United States, so we're pretty lucky.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
I'm just thinking like a huge like marketplace where it's just like all fabrics rolled out and you can just kind of like run through there and like
you can't run because the stores are so full of fabric that you can't.
You kind of wedge yourself in, but they all have it's blocks and blocks of fabric stores, and then they have bolts of fabric out the front, so you can walk around and be like, that looks like they might have what I want, and just wedge yourself into that store. And the last time I went there, I don't know if it's still like that, but it's very like bartery. I'll give you this much for how about this much? Like, I have this much in my pocket. I'm walking out. No, come back. You know? Yeah. Okay, I'll give it to you for that.
And there's always like, oh, pretty lady, come back. And I'm like,
come back.
Give me a break.
Well, and then we'll do the thing. We'll go together and be like, I think they had it at the other. Let's just go. They had it at the other store. No, come back. I'll give you a better deal.
Or you pretend you're like an actual designer and be like, oh, that's not in my budget. I'm a cosplayer.
The budget's whatever I make of it.
Right, budget, but they don't know that.
Yeah, but I mean, as to dream locations, like I've been to Japan, I've been to China and UK and France, and I want to go to France again. And I want to go to Italy and Spain and Australia, and like I want to just go to all the places. Ooh, I want to go to the temples in the middle of the forest in some place I don't know where it is, but I want to go. Okay, so that's really fun.
Have you thought about coming to Australia?
Oh, heck yeah.
I actually did a book report on Australia when I was a wee child. So.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
A book report. Like, do you remember any highlights or?
There was a lot of stuff about Vegemite and kangaroos.
Yeah. Out of the two, I'd
and
probably take kangaroos, not Vegemite. It's awful. I'm probably going to be lynched by Australians for saying this, but Vegemite sucks. It's terrible. It's like, hey guys.
Oh no, I've tasted it. Yeah. I have to agree with you.
Yeah,
I like things that are yeasty, but man, it's like,
maybe it's like an acquired taste, like seaweed or
possibly.
I hate seaweed.
I love seaweed. Seaweed is good. I don't know. I tried Vegemite when I was in high school, so maybe now I'd think it was good. But back then I was like, nope, not my thing.
It's not
great.
good.
I think for my report, I actually bought some Vegemite and brought it into the class and like tried to get people to eat it.
Eat this.
Wow. God bless you.
I can't remember. I was very young.
It's like every country has that thing where they always like bring it out just to scare the tourists, and like for us that's Vegemite or just the hordes of animals that will fucking kill you.
Is that what it is? Just a dare? Like get the people who come here to eat this. See if they'll eat it. Tell them that we eat this.
Essentially, yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Not a single one of us eats Vegemite. You've rumbled us, but just, I would say try and keep it secret, but we've just said it on a international podcast, so there you go.
Okay.
I have another question. This one is for you, Crystal. So in Proposition Infinity, you're in it. Like your likeness is in it.
Oh yeah.
And did you, correct me if I'm wrong, you directed that episode as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
So whose idea was it to kind of immortalize yourself in the Futurama canon, and like how did that talk kind of go down?
I don't remember who came up with it, to be completely honest.
It probably wasn't you.
I don't think it was me. I think it might have been Pete or David Cohen, because we were doing the Comic-Con panel that year. And so I was already going to be at Comic-Con on the panel. So we were like, oh, if we have a future Comic-Con with the future Comic-Con panel, we could all be heads in jars and like match what's going to be on stage for real. And yeah, I mean, when they did say that I got to be a head in a jar, I was pretty excited. I'm like, yay, I'm in the show for real.
Although the funny thing is when we first started working on Futurama, we were like juniors in college or something.
Yeah.
And we used to always draw ourselves and our friends in the background.
Well, that was back when it was done as character layout.
Yeah.
And they didn't always have enough designs to fill crowds. We could never control like the color that they came back as, though. But, but we'd be like, here's me, and here's my friend, and here's that guy over there, and here's Amy.
Yeah.
And we just put ourselves into the crowd. And of course, later they're like, you guys
cut it out.
Shouldn't be doing that. Stop. Knock it off.
That's such a shame, because I feel like you could
redhead now. Look at
I feel like you could make mint doing that. Like if you were working on a show and you're like, hey, I'll put you in the background for like $50. Like I know I would definitely do that.
Yeah, even the names, like the tiny little names on the head jars, they have to go through like approvals and everything. So yeah.
So no sneaking in, your mum.
I try to put stuff in. I would try to put stuff in there that I thought people would think was funny, but it could never be like somebody that I knew. It had to be like something that was related to the show, or like a little Easter egg type thing that people would like. Definitely in All the President's Heads one, I tried to think of like really weird, funny British names to put in there, like sort of like I'm gonna look up like all the Monty Python characters and combine them with Doctor Who names and like shove them in there, and see what happens.
Yeah. So, are you kind of like allowed to make your own little Easter eggs as long as they are pertaining to the show and the kind of show's contents and sense of humor? Are you then allowed to be like, this is my joke that I kind of made?
Yeah, I mean, they go through a approval process, and I mean, like the idea was that Matt was gonna like look through them all and approve them, and sometimes that happened, and sometimes it didn't, So
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But, there was several times where people, directors or board artists would come up with ideas that would then get passed by, Matt Groening or David Cohen, and they'd be like, oh, yes, that is funny. And they'd put it in. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Like, of course, I can think of ones for the show I'm working on now, but I can't.
You can't.
Well, I mean, you could say, do you remember one from like first season of Disenchantment? Because you could talk about that. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Yeah, the only one I can think of is there's a thing in season 3 of Disenchantment that we came up with, and they said yes, and I was very happy. But I can't tell you what it is.
Oh, was that the thing? This thing? Okay.
I love that. That's all the information you needed. That's it. The thing with the thing. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is true friendship.
Well, I did a gesture with my hand, so she knew what I meant.
Yes,
yes. Well, it was still very impressive to
gesture.
me.
No. But we've had a lot of fun. On Futurama, there would be things that were sort of like open enough. Like they'd say, we want Bender to dance. And anytime we got something like that where a character is just supposed to do something that's pantomime or like a dance action or a fight action, going on YouTube and hunting down great funny dance moves to use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'd throw stuff in there and they don't necessarily know where it's from, but I'm like, oh, these guys from the military dancing are so funny. I love it so much. And then make Bender dance like them.
Yeah,
like,
that was great. I have like a whole folder hidden deep in the bowels of my YouTube account, like just of like funny dances.
Yeah.
And anytime I need to do like a dance, I'm like, okay, which one? What would be good? And like, how can I make this weird? And
yeah.
But actually, the new show that I'm working on, Apple and Onion, has a lot of dancing as well, and so it's like I think probably they liked my weird Futurama dances, and that's what would happen. Is like Steven Sandoval would get an episode and be like, oh, there's some kicking here and there's some dancing here. I hear you do those things, Aimee. Or like, there's the horse. Do the horse. I like doing a quadruped movement, so that sounded real nerdy.
Animating animals is extremely difficult. And so if you understand it, it's one of those things that just clicks in your brain. It becomes super fun, and it's great because people go, oh, you're the person that can animate a cat.
Yes.
Great. Do all those things. And it's like, thank you. Yes, I can like cats. I love doing that. Thank you.
But they all move so differently. I'm working on a children's show at the moment, and we decided to put a dog in there that's a marionette puppet. And like, it has taken us like, we've probably spent at least 3 weeks trying to figure out how to move it, like how it can run, and like what it does when it looks sad, or how does it walk when it's just kind of walking. How do you do it at a brisker pace? Like, we've also got the thing of like we're limited by just what our own stupid arms can do, but like that stuff is so incredibly specific that when you kind of get it right, that it to the audience, it's just like, oh yeah, that's a dog, or that's how a cat moves. But like the work that goes
when it's right, they go, oh yeah, and when it's wrong, it's like, why is that wrong? Oh, that's bad.
Exactly.
Like,
or you get that uncanny valley thing.
Just us.
only we notice it's bad.
Yeah,
it's moving. It's shaped like a dog. It's good.
Sometimes I talk to people and I'll be like, oh my god, that mystery show that I'm not going to mention is it's so ugly, and they'll be like, it's fine, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, how can you watch it?
Yeah.
I think just like
it's not pretty.
Yeah, perfectionist animator brain is all like, no, the cat is moving slightly wrong.
Yeah,
I remember that. You guys were saying that you're going to be looking at Naturama, and that was one of the huge challenges working on that particular episode. Of this all animals, and it's like, okay, let's take these characters that are normally people and these animators and storyboard artists who are usually drawing people, and get them to make seals move and tortoises and birds, and like I think they figured because I like drawing and animating animals myself that I'd be a good person to direct that one.
Yeah,
but that was
hard.
That was tough. Fun but tough.
So I should be going in with an eagle eye and kind of trying to look at all the animals' movement, or not necessarily to criticize it, but just to.
Some of it's really sweet.
Yeah.
Some of it worked out really well. There's some, you can't control everything. So some of it would come back and it's like, how much can we fix in retakes? Okay, let's fix them. I got to pick the ones that are but some of it has to go through. So
yeah, basically due to the budget, like you can't fix every single thing that you want to fix necessarily.
Yeah.
So
sometimes you got to pick your battles.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which one of these animals is the most heinous?
Do you remember any favorites or least favorites from that episode? Or
I really loved the stuff with Professor as a tortoise, and if I remember correctly, because the design of him as a tortoise was so funny to me, I boarded a lot of that stuff.
Oh,
just because I was like, I want to draw Professor Tortoise. I love him. He's so funny, old, and grumpy. Like I remember that, and I also I don't know if I could say, like, my inspiration for a lot of the fish stuff was the way that Miyazaki handles water. Hayao Miyazaki, the Japanese director, does these cool things with the way they paint water into the background and then animate the surface of the water. And when we were looking at this whole episode of Fish, everybody was panicking about how we're going to handle all this water. I'm like, we should do it like Miyazaki, where you paint the background to be the water level, and then you just animate the surface, and it'll
just
simplify
animate the
everything.
sparkles on the surface.
Yes, sparkles.
I love sparkles on everything.
Sparkles on everything.
Yes, that's always my way. Like, if I've really fucked something up, like in terms of like craft or something, I'm just like, well, no one's gonna be mad if you add extra sparkles.
Exactly. Just make it shiny and pretty, and they'll like looking at it.
Yeah.
Or you can say it's like battle damaged and then just burn it more.
Yeah. Make it look worse on purpose. It's like, oh.
Make it look like it's been through like when you have to do you make like an old-fashioned map and you tea stain it and then you like singe the edges.
Absolutely. Yeah, one thing my husband and I did with the tea staining, we did the opening for Leprechaun 6, Back to the Hood.
I saw that on your IMDb and I'm like, should I mention it? Should I not?
Okay, it's pretty rough. They said, hey, can you do this? And we said, yeah, we need a budget of XYZ. And they went, yeah, no, we'll give you like this much. And we're like, okay, well, for that much, we can build this book that you guys want to open and have illustrations on, but we're going to keep it.
Yeah.
And we'll do what we can with the animation in that. How long do you want? You guys want it like in 6 months? They're like, no, like we want it in like a month. So
Wow.
so we're like, let's animate this, and we made this book where we tea stain all the pages and bound it in leather, and there's all this, Sculpey on the outside of it that
You
we made
gave them like
gold.
way more than they deserve.
It was a really cool book. And then at the end, when we got to go to the wrap party and get Warwick Davis to sign it and everything, I was like,
That's cool.
I was totally
Oh my
geeking out. It was
gosh.
great.
That's really cool. That's like a very
Yeah,
nice kind of like.
If you watch that animation, you can kind of tell that some animators that kind of knew what they were doing did it in like several weekends.
Yeah.
But it was really fun.
Yeah.
Like,
And also getting to meet Warwick Davis. Like, I know I've done acting jobs or whatever for like way less or like no money at all, but it's like, oh, if I get to kind of like have something, like if I get to kind of take one cool thing out of it, then sometimes that is kind of worth it.
it really is, especially if they're nice. You get to meet somebody cool and be like, all right, this is worth it.
Yeah. This is kind of like this whole podcast for us. Like we went to, like with Steven, we talked to kind of him thinking, oh, no one's going to get back to us. We're just some fucking dorks in Australia. Like to the rest of the world, we're just that one Simpsons episode. And, just like nerding out about kind of Futurama. But everyone's been so nice to us and to like talk to people who've had a hand in some of our favorite stuff. Like I saw Crystal, you worked on the SpongeBob SquarePants movie and I cried a little.
Yep.
I was like, what? I was like, what the fuck? What? Who am I? What? It's like David Hasselhoff.
That one was fun to work on for two reasons. One is that every time you draw SpongeBob, he looks different.
Yes.
and they don't care. And they would come up and be like, no, but he always needs to be slightly bent backwards. No, that he looked totally different than normal there. But yeah, and then his eyes need to be bigger but smaller.
Yeah.
And they were so particular about the way he looks, and it was so much fun to try to like, how can I tweak him this way and have it still look like it's on model?
Yeah.
But then because like Amy said, I really enjoy like really technical stuff. So most of what I did on SpongeBob was registering him to hairs. Like I would animate him and I would register him to hairs on David Hasselhoff's back during that water sequence where they're like doing the chase and that big guy's after them. And it was like, I have to make him walk, but he can't be slipping around on the back. So I've got to like, okay, his foot moves from this mole to that mole there. And it was really gross. Fortunately for David Hasselhoff, that's not his real back that I was looking at being grossed out back. Apparently that was like a fake back.
Oh, yeah, that was like a
It
huge
was a
model.
stunt back. It was a stunt back. So I wasn't being grossed out by actual David Hasselhoff. He's probably fine.
Wasn't that
Or even
they
who
built
knows?
like
Who knows?
a
Who
7-foot Hasselhoff that it's like a huge like model of him that's like it's almost like as big as the Jaws model, I want to say.
Right? Like, where is that now?
We don't need to know. If it turns up in 200 years, that will be hilarious. I mean, I'll be dead at that point, but like I'm just gonna laugh about it now. Oh my god, that is amazing. 'Cause speaking of deeply influential things, what kind of I read that Amy, you kind of your love of animation was sparked by Beauty and the Beast. Like, so yeah, for you and Crystal, what were your kind of like early influences, and then what kind of stuff do you like now? Like, what are your fandoms, basically?
Well, I mean, you're going to have to let us know when we're done if this is like the nerdiest podcast you've ever done.
I need to air this. Whoa. I liked The Little Mermaid.
Yes,
That was my favorite, and I drew Ariel almost every day, and I ask my mom now that I have an 8-year-old daughter who draws the same thing over and over and shows me every single one. I'm like, Mom, how did you look at my 8,000 mermaid drawings and go, that's lovely. That was so lovely. What a lovely mermaid. But the last time I saw her, she pointed out, she's like, I knew you were ready. You were going to be good in animation because you could draw 1,800 of the same mermaid and not get tired of it ever. Oh, she moved a little, But I think I was really inspired by, you could make something that magical that doesn't exist in our world and make it look real, and the hair would flow around and everything looked so cool.
Yeah.
Like I was just, as a kid, that's what really got me. And also the Last Unicorn, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Looking at it now, the animation's not.
Oh, it's still magical to me.
So good. I can't help it. I love it. I'm like, I wish I could go back and animate the unicorn so it's more flowy.
Fix a few faces.
Fix a couple of the like looping back and forth things they would do, but oh my god, it still was really inspirational as a kid. And Secret of Nim, like that one's a little more realistic, but to me that animation was really compelling. And I think one of the other things, animation story wise, as a kid, that I think affected both of us was stories that had real danger in them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, real fairy tales where you're worried about the character and something bad might actually happen to them.
Yeah. If you look at like Secret of Nim and the Last Unicorn, they're actually pretty scary.
Yeah. Well, and even, you know, not necessarily traditionally animated, but like Dark Crystal, you've got puppet animation, same kind of thing. Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, where again, like you're bringing to life these creatures with slightly scary situations that as a kid, you know, you want to imagine these cool things and you want to make these cool things and go on these cool adventures.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think like legitimate peril, perhaps.
Yeah.
But like I'm very wimpy, so I can't watch like really scary stuff. I have to look away.
Yeah. I don't like horror or anything like that now. I'm like, that's so scary. I don't like it.
But I wonder if like the by the mere thing that it is animated, like I say this a lot about theater, like as scary as it is, and you can be really scared by it, there's still that element of someone's made this, and like we're all kind of implicit in you know, by, you know, putting on the Labyrinth VHS, like I am aware that someone has made these things, these wonderful puppets, and so like as scared as you get, there is still that kind of element of like, I still know at the end of the day that this isn't real because, you know, it is animated or it is puppetry. So like you've got kind of like a little bit of a safety net around that, I kind of think, which is why animation can be so fucked up in the first place.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way for me. I guess I have a really overactive imagination, and it's not like I think it's real, but I definitely am like get very bothered by things I watch, whether it's animated or not, and I'll have like nightmares like directly related to what I watched. And
I kind of ride the line on that one. I'm a little I can watch things that are kind of scary, but I mean, even my kids are just old enough where we try to show them things that are a little scarier, and we do exactly that. We say, you know, they really wanted to watch Jurassic Park. So they're like, okay, here's the making of, and here's how we make a dinosaur, and see this girl who looks like she was flipped upside down and dragged underwater by dinosaurs. She's fine. Here's how they did it. Everything's fine. And on one side, I can do that with them, and on the other side, I can watch Stranger Things and not be able to sleep because I'm too scared of Demogorgon.
It's so scary. I don't like it. As I guess for me, like I really like The Little Mermaid, but I connected more with Beauty and the Beast. I think it was like, and I think we both were really attracted by Glenn Keane's animation in particular.
Oh yeah.
So he's the animator for Ariel, and then he animated The Beast. And that was the first time they started putting those making of things on TV.
Oh yeah.
So before that, I really liked Rescue Rangers. And I would I'd record Rescue Rangers on VHS, and then I would pause the VHS thing, and I'd step it forward, and I'd trace every single frame.
Oh my god, I did that too. But I did it with The Last Unicorn. And Beauty and the Beast.
Yep.
Amazing.
So then by the time Beauty and the Beast came out, I still didn't know it was a job. But then they put those things on the TV, and they showed the animators like James Baxter and Glenn Keane. Look at me, I'm an animator. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a job?
Yeah.
I can do this thing? And I was like, that's definitely what I'm going to do. And then I found the one guy that knew anything about animation in South Carolina. I looked all over. I called all these ad agencies and any place that had like artists and, you know, I grew up in Charleston, so like a lot of the artists there are like, I'm gonna paint a house, like a beautiful colonial house or something, and maybe not so much interested in making cartoons. But this one guy worked at the local news station, and he made like little animated things for the news station. His name was Kim Welch, and he taught me how to animate, and it was super cool. And I would go over to the news station once a week, and he'd be like, okay, this is how you do a bouncing ball, and this is how you do this. And I actually made a short little film that I was not able to film on anything because we didn't have anything to film it on.
Here's my papers.
Yeah, I had a big stack of animation paper. It was a horrible short film about a surfer who, like, there was a piranha in the ocean for some reason, and like tried to get him, and it was awful. But he was very sweet man to teach me how to animate. And so then when I applied to CalArts, I had this big stack of paper, and they're like, here, you want to film it? And I went back, and they had these super old Amigas that, like, even at that point, the Amigas were very old.
Yeah.
They're these, what
could
did they
be
even use those for? They're like a Commodore 64 or something.
I don't even know.
So yeah, we could frame by frame
pencil test where you could only go.
You can only go forward.
Right.
You
can't go back and like fix anything if you filmed it wrong. It was like, okay, well, that's it.
It was amazing. So that was the first time I got to see like my stuff animated.
Is when you applied?
Yeah, when I applied.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
And Corny Cole was there, and he's like, you want to film it? I'm like, cool. Corny was like this super, super cool, like kind of like hippie surfer dude that would like do life drawings with his coffee. And like he was way cool. And he was there for the whole time that we were there.
Yeah.
And he sort of like had this office full of papers that possibly might fall on you. There were so many papers in there.
All his drawings and stuff.
And when you drew stuff, he was always trying to get you to like think outside the box.
Yep.
Be like, why are you thinking so linearly, you stupid brain? You need to think smarter and do some cool. Why are you doing it that way? Just be free. Yeah.
I remember when I found out that animation was a job. I was taking a charcoal drawing class, and you're supposed to draw, like, we were like copying Da Vinci drawings in charcoal and doing all the shading and stuff. And every time there was a break, because they'd give us these huge pieces of paper, I'd be like, I'm gonna draw Belle really huge. I'm gonna draw the beast and try to make it look like one of those Glen Keane drawings.
Yeah.
And this lady came through and was like, do you do animation? And I'm like, no. And she's like, I teach an animation class. And so I became interested in this animation class that was taught by Sharon Nemchuk up in Portland.
You West Coast people with your animation skills.
I know, she knew about it. Well, because we had, in Portland, you've got a little bit of animation going on up there. And yeah, so she had this Saturday Academy class where we could go and learn about animation. And when I found out they had they had the Art of Animation books there. And when I started flipping through there, it was like every single one went to CalArts. I'm like, this is a job, and there's a school in California you can go to learn the job. I must go.
I wrote all the companies, and I was like, I want to be an animator. How do you do the thing? And then they wrote me back and said, you should go to one of these 10 colleges. And my dad, long-suffering dad, took me to like my 5 top colleges, and CalArts was the one to let you have dogs. So. And it also seemed like the best one, so that's where I went.
I thought I wanted to go to RISD for a while because I was from Portland and I didn't want to move somewhere hot. So I don't want to go to California. It's going to be hot there.
You've been trapped now.
I like it when it's rainy and cold. I like to be barefoot in the rain and in the coldness. And now I'm so acclimated that if it's like colder than 70, I need 8 sweaters.
I do miss the rain though. Yeah. It never rains here. It's like, what is it, like 82 today?
Yeah.
It's November. It's supposed to be cold.
I'm wearing boots anyway. I don't care.
I tried to wear today, and then I went to go get some lunch, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Guess I can't take my cute sweater off. But yeah, so with Beauty and the Beast, like, part of why I liked it so much was that, like, the emotion of it, and that James Baxter and Glen Keane's animation was just so moving. Like, that was what was really attractive to me. So I really hope that as I move forward and turn into an adult animator, I'm only 40, so I still have time.
I think we're grown-ups now. Yeah.
I want to do more emotional cool stuff. So I mean, to be fair, like a lot of times people I would work with would give me like emotional scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. Like some of the stuff with Bean in the first season of Disenchantment, like when she gets drunk right before she's about to get married, I did that part. And when she finds out about her mom and stuff like that, I got that part. So
Wow.
I do really like doing stuff like that.
Yeah, the emotional stuff is super fun. Like,
That's my favorite.
yeah. There was a
Kicking.
back to Futurama. one of my favorite things that I ever got to almost, I think I almost animated. I did so many drawings for that sequence. Was
Oh, dude, we used to
the-
actually legit animate.
Yeah.
We just didn't do all the frames.
at the end of Cold Warriors, when I had that moment between Fry and his dad, I was like, I get to do this, the one moment where Fry's dad is like open and honest and caring with him. And I just ate it up. I was like, oh, I'm going to do all this acting and stuff. This is so much fun. That's one of the scenes I'm very proud of.
Yeah, we love that scene. We were talking about it. Like it's I don't know. There's something about father-son scenes that really kind of get me in the feels.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
tried to get the subtext between the two of them too. You know, like he wasn't talking too much, but he was saying a lot.
Yeah. No, that I love that stuff. And like you're right in terms of like emotion that comes through, like that's something I remember about Beauty and the Beast too, like cuz the Beast is so wonderfully expressive that like you really can track his whole character arc just with his kind of facial expressions. Like it's so masterfully done, and I think like it's shit like that made me want to become an actor. Like I think I saw one of those behind the scenes of like Robin Williams as the genie.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Oh man.
I was like, whack. What do you mean that someone's doing that? I thought it just appeared. I thought the genie. Well, first of all, I thought the genie was real since I'm like 5, and now you're telling me that there's a person who like did the voice, and then there's other people who made the pictures. Like,
Yeah, like the animation Eric Goldberg did for the genie is just like still to this day. Like when I heard they were going to do a new Aladdin live action movie, I was just like threw up in my mouth because like Eric Goldberg's genie is like genius.
Gosh.
Genius, you don't need to remake it.
It's gonna be like 40 years from now, people are gonna be like, what is some of the best animation ever done? And I'll be like, Eric Goldberg's genie is the best one of the best animations ever done, and they didn't even make it. How dare they do a new thing with live action and people can never compare to the artistry of animation.
yeah, you might say it's genius. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, everyone.
Yeah, no, the voice acting is so important though. Like when, like I'm currently waiting for our audio to come in for the episode I'm working on now, and it's like waiting for Christmas. I'm like, what chunks of this dialogue am I gonna latch onto and go, oh, it's so good and so fun to work with. Like
and the way the delivery can completely change the acting. Like you can get the script and think that the read is going to be like this, and it can be totally different.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think like that was a big thing with like the show I'm working on now, Apple and Onion. It's very like sort of dry humor a little bit. And there would be times where I thought, oh, it should be like this, and then the show creator, who's also the voice of Apple, would be like, no, it should be like straight like this, and you need to fully understand the emotions of the character, and you get it more through the read than the script. So yeah.
Amazing. You guys are, I'm just so chuffed to have you both on here because it's been so wonderful. Wonderful sharing in all your cool stories and like following all your craft and all your wonderful creative stuff. So we're almost at the hour mark. Before we head off, is there anything that you would really like to plug? I know that you sell stuff, Aimee, on your Etsy, and you have a few other sites as well. You have some adorable pins that are for sale that I definitely haven't bought.
These pins are littering the table in here because I have been going through like, oh, I have a pile of like 8 in front of me, and I'm like, I need this one and this one and this one. They're so cute.
It's just for fun. But my Etsy is Amy Kitty, and you just have to spell my first name right.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything to plug necessarily. I mean, I think Apple and Onion is a great show. It's very funny. So if you like funny character-driven humor, then you should watch it.
Which our fans should, since this is a Futurama podcast. So get on it, y'all.
Yeah, I think the whole reason I decided to work on it was because the characters legitimately made me laugh, and there's a lot of heart in the show. It's about an apple and an onion who become roommates, kind of like me and Crystal. And then
tag yourselves.
they become friends, and they go on wholesome little adventures together, and hilarity ensues.
That is so cute. Who's apple? Who's onion?
Oh, I don't know. Which one would I be?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the tall one's onion, but I don't know.
I'm the short one. Perhaps I am apple, as I am the short one.
Well, I don't think either one of us is really either one because, well, I'm sort of like onion, I guess. I'm sort of nerdy like onion. So maybe we're both onion.
Awesome.
I don't know. I don't know if I have anything pluggy. I
watch Disenchantment.
I work on Disenchantment.
You work on Disenchantment, which is pretty cool.
Which is a lot of fun. And the more I work on the show and the new scripts that are coming in, I'm very excited about where it's going. So
That's cool.
It's pretty cool. It's a really fun show to work on. And the other show, I don't know this is necessarily plugging, but there's a show I worked on before Disenchantment that TBS kind of like didn't publicize as much as I thought they should, which was called Tarantula by Carson Mell.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some really wacky, cool stuff in Tarantula. And if anybody wants a show that's got a lot of interesting characters with a lot of heart, like, I don't know, I think it has sort of that quirky, it's not Matt Groening-ish like Futurama is, but I think if people who like Futurama would probably also like Tarantula.
Okay, cool.
So I would say go find Tarantula on TBS. Like the one scene that I boarded that actually brought me to tears while I was boarding it. I had to go to the writer and be like, look what you did to me. I'm crying. My face is a mess because I did this scene with the Echo in the bar and he's pouring his heart out and I can't stop crying. So I really love that show.
Yeah. One of my favorite boards actually was from the episode that you directed that I boarded on.
Yeah. Oh, the one weird mama.
The crazy mommy one.
Yeah. I am a crazy mommy and I directed a show called One Weird Mama in Tarantula, and it was
great,
amazing,
epically weird. So I say go watch Tarantula, even though it's an old show that I'm not currently working on anymore.
Hey, there's no limits to what you can plug on here. Like,
if you want a good episode of Apple and Onion to start with, I recommend Falafel's Fun Day. I think it's Falafel's Fun Day. You can't remember. It has falafel in it. Well, whatever.
Look up Falafels.
Falafel's Fun Day, I think. It made me cry. It makes me cry every time I watch it. I've seen it like 7 times.
Well,
it's about a falafel and an apple and an onion, and I'm sitting here like, oh, falafel, I love you so much.
Well, I can't wait to cry too, in many ways. So I will definitely be checking that out. And that's it. Oh shit. Oh fuck. Sorry. Thanks, Sean. Sean's here reminding me to do my job. So this is my least favorite part of the podcast at all times. Usually we do a voice at the end to showcase our skills, ? And so we've been kind of working through, usually we do a new character that's introduced, but now we've been kind of like working through, re-established characters or our old characters. Do you guys have a favorite voice from Futurama that you would like to do? I always fall on Hedonism Bot because that's the only voice I can do. But
I don't really do voices very well at all.
I don't know.
Neither can we. We always suck at it, and it's like terrible because we're all meant to be actors, and then like every time it's just like, oh, do like Scruffy, and we're like, meh. Like we, for some reason, every time we get to this segment in the episode, we just completely forget what voices sound like.
Yeah, I haven't even heard them in so long that like I don't know.
we could do.
Okay, I've got something. No, I've got something.
Oh,
Do you know?
I don't remember.
It's the Morbo and Linda bit.
Okay.
It's one of my favorites.
All right.
When they're like,
what did they say?
I think
don't
they're like
remember.
mildly drunk. Linda says that, and Morbo's looking at the teleprompter, and he goes, "What is that letter that looks like a little man with a hat?"
It's a T. So it's tack. You can't do voices. Sorry, that's all you get.
I was using that when I was teaching my son letters. He's like, "What is that?" And like, "It is the little letter that looks like a man with a hat."
I think the only voice I do is the voice of my cats. I'm like, hello, pet me. Pet me, please. I like me. Please
Yeah,
pet
don't make
me.
us do Futurama voices. We'll just do something else.
I will settle for any voice, anytime. That's also very similar to the voice that everyone in my house uses for my rabbit, Preston. For some reason, he sounds like I want to say Spanish drug lord. He's like, hello. But also now he's French when I do him. Hello. Where's my food?
No, I want a kiss. Will you please give me a kiss? Mommy, I need a kiss.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you both, Aimee and Crystal, for participating in this tomfoolery. Everyone, please.
Thanks for having us.
No, it's absolutely my pleasure. Everyone, please check out Apple and Onion. Check out Disenchantment. Check out HAMINALS and Aimee's Etsy, so you can buy her adorable animal magical tins. And you guys know where to find me, joined by the rest of the Baby Bearders. Plug, all of our usual spiel. And that's the end of the episode. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to contact us, you can do so by emailing us at babybeardmedia@gmail.com. Our socials are Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram @BabyBeardMedia. And if you're looking for a way to support us, the best way you can do it is by jumping onto iTunes or the podcast app and giving us a 5-star rating and a nice review. It goes a long way to helping us. Otherwise, if you'd like to join us next week...
Anyway...